morning, Buffalo. You're listening to the East Side Coalition's radio hour here on WUFO, bringing you community, conversation, and the future of our neighborhoods. I'm your host today, Candace Moppins. India Walton is ill and not feeling well. It's just that time of the year. We hope that she gets well soon. Every week, we bring you stories, the people, and the movement shaping Buffalo's East Side and beyond. And today we're excited to welcome someone who has been deeply committed to connecting people, movements, and communities across Western New York. Our guest today is Seamus Galvan, formerly of the ROCC, which is the...
ROC, the Restore Our Community Coalition.
Oh, okay. The Restore Our Community Coalition, and the founder of the Reconnector, a network dedicated to bridging gaps in the community, fostering collaboration, and uplifting grassroots efforts. Seamus, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Candace. Honored to be back in the WUFO studios. I used to host a show in this studio on WUFO through Slow Roll.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, boy, it was maybe 2017, I think. We used to have a weekly show talking all about the rides and the reasons for them, for everybody that we were spotlighting and bringing together through those. It's really so much respect for WUFO. It's wonderful to be back in here.
Thank you. All right. Well, let's get right to it. What is the Reconnector?
Oh, thank you for asking. Reconnector, which is spelled with an ER at the end for anyone typing it out and Googling it. You can go to reconnector.org. It's something that was actually inspired by this issue of Parkway Revival and along Humboldt and Scajaquada Parkways. And it's all about bringing people together through stories and events for social connection. And I have a weekly newsletter called the Buffalo Lowdown, which has events and music and links to deeper issues. And so people send flyers for upcoming events. Every week there's about 25 events that are listed. Some of the events that I'm involved with are listed, and really, like, for example, this past week's Buffalo Lowdown, it's a free weekly newsletter. Folks can subscribe at reconnector.org. I led with this because there's a community meeting happening, and so the notion of social connection and people coming together, it can show in public meetings like this. It can show in concerts and a spaghetti dinner, a little fundraiser for a nonprofit, or all the ways that we come together. And really, it was inspired by this issue. I was part of ROC and Scajaquada Corridor Coalition as well through Slow Roll, and seeing this as such, like there's a giant open wound in the heart of our city, and what Frederick Olmsted, the landscape designer who designed our parks and parkways, called the lungs of the city. The heart and lungs of our city are cut right through. And seeing how we were so divided, Buffalo's so segregated.
Yes.
And seeing this as one of the most clear acts of segregation in our city. And maybe as I learned when I got involved with ROC, what they used to lead saying is the worst planning mistake in the history of the city of Buffalo. So I was thinking, what can I do? How can I help beyond just showing up and for joining organizations like ROC and SCC, Scajaquada Corridor Coalition? What can I do with what I do, with what I'm good for, and stories and events? And so I conceived of an event that would happen in between Delaware and MLK parks called Reconnector. Like, how can we reconnect these areas that have been disconnected? And so starting it with just a weekly newsletter to just sort of build momentum, build a following to eventually get to this summertime event where we all come together in between the parks without using the highway. Like we are enjoying the parks, the streets, the neighborhoods, and going back and forth, actually back across these lines of segregation. So starting it with this newsletter, the Buffalo Lowdown, and an example like this coming Tuesday, we have a public meeting. And so I want to just bring attention to things like this where we can show up together, whether it's anybody there, whether or not you know anybody there, whether or not you know anything about the issue at hand, even like whether it's a public meeting like this. Okay, I want to learn, or I have an opinion, I want to be heard. This is affecting me, I have a problem. And meetings like this, we can work towards solving them. And obviously we've been working on this one for a very long time.
Very long time.
And so I identified this as, one of the major issues facing our city.
So the listening session that Seamus is referring to is called Queen City Forward. And it's a listening session on December the
13th?
2nd.
Tuesday, December 2nd, 5 to 7 p.m., is that right?
5 to 7 p.m. at
Schiller Park Senior Center on
Schiller Park
Genesee.
Senior Center on Genesee. ESP members will be there. But more importantly, it is important for community residents, for those who are impacted by living around the 33, and those who drive it. Everyone is a stakeholder because we're all affected by it. Doesn't mean that you have to walk out your door and see it. But also those who, when they're in a hurry because they're running late, hop on to get where they're going in less than 15 minutes. We need to see you there. You need to share your experience. Those of you who grew up in the neighborhood and community, who are in your 70s and 80s now, can remember what it used to look like. We need you to share your stories. We need you to share your vision. Okay, Seamus. Thank you for sharing that. What you said just resonates with everything that we talk about on this show. Organizing across silos and recognizing the issues impacting the East Side residents, whether it be housing, transportation, environmental justice. All these things are, as you said, tied in. And so we've been doing a lot of work around East Side as well. Getting information out, putting information in the hands of residents, and encouraging them to use their voice, to speak out against or speak up for what it is that they'd like to see in their neighborhoods and communities. And it's been a labor of love, certainly for folks who are concerned, but never thought that going door to door, speaking to people, or even me being on a radio show, talking about the concerns and the issues, but also the dreams for what could be, given the opportunity for people to just share and for people to listen, those who are in a position to listen, because we won't be around to really enjoy. It's going to be our grands, our great-grands, and our great-greats. And so it's so important for us to do the best that we can, to bring the best project that rights years of wrong to a neighborhood and a community, but also for people and families, because we always talk about neighborhood and we talk about community, but we fail to talk about the people who live there, how they're affected, how their lives are affected, the disease, the environment, the lack of trees, the pollution, the toxins. Not only them, the adults, but their children.
You just mentioned the trees. And we know that is an issue on the east side, how many trees have been lost, how many trees were destroyed in the building of highways, streets. I mean, just Humboldt itself. I think for folks who are like my age, younger, who were not around when Humboldt Parkway was destroyed to create the Kensington Expressway, we have to look to picture, beyond the few pictures that we have of it, look to Bidwell and Chapin Parkway. That's what Humboldt was like. It was the grandest of them all.
It was bigger.
And it was taken and destroyed for this. And so, yes, this is about trees and the benefits of having them. Before you even said trees, what you said when you said that what we're showing up for, we're advocating for the future of Humboldt Parkway, is something that we might not ourselves be around to see. That reminded me of that old wisdom about trees. Like, when's the best time to plant a tree? It was 10 years ago. Like, people who plant trees are doing so for the next generation. Like, they might never see the beauty of that tree and all of its benefits and what it provides to people in a neighborhood. I appreciate that perspective on this, because I think what a lot of folks involved have been fighting for is something that they can see themselves, that they want to be there for the end result. And I respect that. When it's so impactful to you, you want to see it through. Maybe, that's a different perspective to say, actually, we might not be around to see it through. We want to at least move it forward, and to advance this issue that, it's been fought since it was proposed. The residents voted down the building of the Kensington Expressway multiple times and were just ignored, and they continued to be ignored, and they're not entirely being ignored anymore, given the state of things now with this meeting. What we see in this meeting that's happening this coming Tuesday, December 2nd, 5 to 7 p.m. at Schiller Park Senior Center, is a rebranding by the State Department of Transportation of their effort to listen to the people, and they're calling it Queen City Forward, to talk about moving the thing forward. What it remains to be seen if they will act any differently. They are ordered by the courts to act differently, thanks in great part to the work of this Eastside Parkways Coalition, to legally challenge, to take the state to court, and a judge ruled that there needs to be an environmental impact statement for a project of this size, which the State Department of Transportation was trying to push through without, which it defies logic, and now we know also defies law. And so they were rebuked on that and said, you have to do this environmental impact statement. And I appreciate the DOT, Department of Transportation officials, saying we need to listen more to the people, because if we had been, maybe we wouldn't be in this position where we just got rebuked by the courts. And so, it's about having a mindset that just advocate for the issue, and there's just never been consensus. And so I really appreciate that perspective of we don't have a date of when this job will be done, but we have a responsibility as concerned citizens, as impacted citizens, and those who advocate with them, stand behind them, to move the issue forward. So I appreciate the name Queen City Forward from the DOT, and we hope that we can actually reach a consensus and move forward together. But it has been such a struggle. And so I go back with ROC, Restore Our Community Coalition, 10 years, that I got involved through Slow Roll. I'm the co-founder of Slow Roll Buffalo, which was created in 2014. And for folks who are unfamiliar, it's a free community bike ride to bring people together across divisions, across sort of boundaries. And we rode 10 miles, and I'm happy to say Slow Roll's still going. It's just going without me. But 10 miles every Monday, always in a different route, in a different neighborhood. And I believe that's how we met.
That's
Candace,
how we met.
Shout out to everybody at the Delavan Grider Community Center. And so we got involved. There was always more than a bike ride. And so 2015, we got involved in this issue of Skagway and Humboldt. Parkway revival is the way I like to put it. Like, it's not about destruction. It's about revival of these beautiful tree-lined parkways that connected neighborhoods and parks and people. And so it's been 10 years since I've been involved in this, and it's just always been a struggle to get the officials from the Department of Transportation to truly listen and to work together to organize and build consensus. And they say, we are in the business of moving cars. And they would say, basically, they would start, this is our objective, is the continued uninterrupted flow of automobiles. And we would just continue, and we are to this day continuing to appeal to a wider mindset of, this is actually about people and neighborhoods.
Appealing for humanity.
And yes, and we need to center the nearest residents to these parkways and highways, and what is best for them, who is most harmed, and that hasn't always happened. And so I appreciate. I remember the first time I attended an Eastside Parkways Coalition meeting that you were hosting at the Delavan Grider Community Center, and that was what we were saying then. Those of us who had been involved in the issue for a while, saying, you better center the people living on and nearest to Humboldt. They are the ones most impacted. They are the ones who have the most experience of this. And so I really appreciate that the coalition has done so. And I think it's been powerful, and obviously evidenced by the fact that the courts have stepped in and agreed with the coalition that more work needs to be done to truly understand the impacts of this and all of the options.
Yes. I believe we have a caller. Good morning, caller. Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we sure can.
Sorry, we have a dog in the house. So I just wanted to thank Seamus for being on. And hi, Candace. It's Brad.
Oh, hi, Brad.
Oh, good morning, Brad.
And just remind, when people go to the event on 12/2 by DOT, just picking up on what Seamus was saying, that we've kind of distilled an advocacy point to, instead of just maintaining, for everyone to tell DOT, instead of just maintaining vehicular capacity, to prioritize the health of the community as the number one project objective for this work.
Yes, because that's our concern, and that should be everyone's concern that's sitting at the table. I'm sure that's the residents' concern, that's ESP's concern, and it's true. The health of that particular neighborhood and community was not prioritized.
So one thing that I have suggested through that is, okay, so I think we all agree here, prioritize the people, and the people closest to the problem are closest to the solution. Are we really listening to those people? And such props to Rock for holding that line for so long when it was so hard to get anyone to listen to them,
Yes.
anyone in power, and respect to, it was often Crystal People-Stokes who would say, listen to people from the Department of Transportation, you need to meet with these folks. You need to listen to them. You can't keep blowing them off. And so we would get a meeting, and it would be like, the face-to-face version of blowing someone off. Like, they would show up to the meeting, but would they really listen? Would there be any progress? Would they actually advance the interests of the people most impacted? And it was just stonewalled so often. But folks like the Assembly Leader, Crystal People-Stokes, would just remind the people from the DOT, you need to listen to these people.
Do you remember the public presentation they had at the Science Museum where they had two two people sitting on stage, but they were mute. They weren't allowed to speak.
Do you remember what I said at that meeting?
No, but
I don't exactly remember what I said, other than I actually just kind of, when it was my turn to speak, for those who weren't there, I was about to reference a 2019 meeting at the Science Museum, but this one was in maybe 2022 that you're referring to.
Yep.
Where there were these two officials that we had never seen before. Again, I've been involved since 2015. I'm not like an OG on this. I'm not a resident of Humboldt Parkway. I showed up in support and belief that something had to change, and listening and moving with the people most impacted. And so suddenly I see these two gentlemen who are put in the middle of the stage representing the Department of Transportation. But as you referenced, Brad, there was an announcement at the beginning, not by them, but by someone else representing the DOT, that they were going to listen, but they weren't going to speak. So everybody who signed up to speak, when their turn came, they spoke to these two gentlemen who just stared back. And there was like no exchange. There was no connection. They were just, what is going to happen with the words that I'm saying? Like, why can't you? And so, yeah, when it was my time to talk, I was just like, this is a little weird. I'm like, can we just all like acknowledge that this is a strange way of having a public forum. I've never seen anything like that. And I haven't since, to DOT's credit. They did not try to do that again. But yeah, they've had various versions of public input that have left us scratching our heads and saying the same thing over and over again and getting. That was
fall of 2023.
Thank you, 2023. Okay, so yeah. I wanted to bring up a moment from. Sorry, Brad.
It was about 90. It was one of the first public meetings I attended because I met Candace in the spring of 2023, and we started meeting on this. But it was at least 90-1 or 90-2 against comments against the expressway, and they, literally sat there like dummies on the stage. They were props.
Yeah.
But here, I just want to make sure that everyone goes. We feel like if everybody in the city decided, hey, let's go tell DOT to prioritize the health of the community rather than just maintaining an expressway that probably isn't really needed anymore, we can probably get it. So thank you. I'm going to hang up and listen.
Thank you, Brad. The 2019 meeting was sort of like part of how these meetings become so frustrating is that we had a meeting, like the meeting we're referring to in 2023 with the sort of stoic men sitting and just like idle. There's been so many meetings. So in 2019, there was a meeting in the same place with all the same renderings. And at that point, people were already so frustrated. We had already done this before and had these public meetings, and we've voiced our opinions, and they're just coming back to us and saying the same thing as if they're not even like, do they not have ears? And so there is an impasse. And I suggested in 2019 to do for Humboldt what the state had already done for the Scajaquada issue, that there was a public meeting where the citizens were frustrated. The Department of Transportation officials did not have the answers. They were not prepared for a dialogue or for alternatives. They just said, here's what's going to happen. And the people said, no, that's unacceptable. And so someone had the sense to bring in the GBNRTC, Greater Buffalo Niagara Regional Transportation Council. And I proposed in 2019, like, how about we do that here? Because you DOT officials have stated repeatedly that your primary objective is the continued movement of automobiles uninterrupted, and anything that reduces that continued movement of the same commute time is unacceptable. So what are the alternative, or what are the options that we have within this free flow? And that's how you wind up with this idea of a cap. And I'm saying, like, we don't have consensus on this, so can we bring in another agency to work with the citizens and the Department of Transportation that will actually work constructively towards a solution, towards consensus. And that hasn't happened yet. And so here we have another meeting coming up this Tuesday, December 2nd, 5 to 7 p.m. at the Schiller Park Senior Center with the same Department of Transportation officials, now called Queen City Forward. And we will go and do the same thing again and hope for different results. But we'll see on Tuesday. I mean, we just have to keep showing up. And that's the one thing, you're not going to get anything if you don't show up together.
We have to keep showing up. We have to continue to voice our opinions about this particular project. We have to continue to coordinate community members to come and share what their thoughts and opinions are on this project, because it directly affects those people that live immediately and adjacent to this project. And so, we continue empowering people. And I think it's been a while, and I think that it's been growing where you see people, not only in Buffalo, but all across the nation, standing up to saying, no, this is not right. Our voices have been removed. Our faces have been taken away, erased, or sublimed out of the picture. There's other communities you see get community benefits with projects, not as an afterthought, but immediately put in and implemented in place before a project ever begins. And there is not a community benefits package attached to this project.
And we know this is that parkway revival, highway removal has happened in other cities. We know that Buffalo is different. It's not the same. You have to approach it differently with different sets of data. And one of the things that we know that is going to be cited as a reason not to fully restore Humboldt Parkway is the dispersal of traffic and how it will, if your pollution is your concern, now there's going to be pollution in all of the other arterials like Genesee, Broadway, Fillmore, Jefferson. And that has to be fully explored as how we can actually move those automobiles in ways that we have technology to move automobiles efficiently with smart lights and such. And so that has to be fully explored and not dismissed, which is the temptation. This is what we will hear. We will hear a dismissal of that option, and we have to insist that it be fully explored. And finally, I just want to say, we actually have, hopefully, we have a new mayor coming in, a mayor who has spoken out on this issue, and hopefully he will continue to. We haven't had this before, where the administration in City Hall has been really engaged on this issue and moving the issue forward, has sort of punted to the state before. And so I really think we're at a new moment here. And the DOT is saying as much by saying this is now called something else. So here we go. Tuesday, December 2nd, Schiller Park Senior Center. We hope to see a packed house.
A common thread is that when the community members speak up, show up, and organize together, we shift outcomes. We'll see y'all. Tune in next Saturday to the Eastside Parkways Coalition Hour. Thank you.